he would be a better fit on the Los Angeles Clippers, not the Golden State Warriors. I think that even though you're talking about the potency of the greatest shooting backcourt man has ever seen in Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, assuming they're both healthy on the court with them, I have religiously had a problem with Lonzo Ball's aggression. Now, this year, it's improved dramatically. He's averaging 14 a game. He's shooting 38% from three-point range, about 42% from the field. We get that. But the reason why we're praising him is because it's such an upgrade compared to what we have seen. He saw his little brother come into the league, take it by storm. God bless his son, LaMelo, who broke his wrist, according to reports.
That's a bad
He's going to
one.
be out for the season, probably going to cost the Rookie of the Year honors, which means Anthony Edwards is going to get it. But the point is this. LaMelo comes into the league, and LaMelo is aggressive. LaMelo don't give a damn what anybody got to say. He going for it. Lonzo has been passive, and I don't believe anyone who is passive in any way on the offensive side of the ball should be on the court with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
I don't find Lonzo passive.
Listen, you got Draymond. Draymond is your point forward, okay? You don't need Lonzo as much as the Clippers do. Kawhi Leonard has been crying for a point guard behind the scenes. He desperately needs one. That's not the case with Golden State.
I'm not arguing.
And don't take the ball out of Steph Curry's hands either.
I'm not arguing that the Warriors need Lonzo more than the Clippers. I think that's right. I'm saying, like, what team does Lonzo not fit on? You need some perimeter defense. You need some rebounding out of your backcourt.
He can play.
You need some court vision. You need pinpoint passing. You need unselfishness. You need a guy where the ball doesn't stick with him, even as he facilitates your offense. You need a guy taking 7, 8 threes a game and hitting almost 40% of them. Like, what team does that not work on? And most of all, which I see with both Ball brothers in the NBA, and it's a shame what just happened to LaMelo, who was going to win Rookie of the Year, and now he's going to, as you mentioned, miss the rest of the year. What I see from them both, they don't care about their stats. They don't care about, well, I'm going to put up 20 points or whatever it is. All they care about is helping the team win. You can see it on every possession. I think it'd be a huge bonus, a huge benefit to the Warriors.
I don't think so, because you have Draymond there, and I think that that's enough. I think that he potentially gets in the way. I look at him with the Clippers as being ideal. And, oh, by the way, I'm not a believer that LaMelo doesn't care about his numbers. I think Lonzo is that way. I think it's a flat-out lie that LaMelo doesn't care about his numbers. I'm not saying he plays the right way. I'm not trying to imply otherwise. I love LaMelo Ball's game so far, what I've seen. But what I'm saying is he's cognizant of his numbers.
So what are you saying about aggression? Are you saying you want players on your team that do care about their numbers?
I want guys that are aggressive. And listen, I'm on the record. The only argument the only vehement argument where I wasn't inquisitive, I literally challenged Magic Johnson. Why are you drafting Lonzo Ball ahead of De'Aaron Fox?
Especially when De'Aaron gave it to him in the tournament.
39 in the tournament, destroyed them. And listen, De'Aaron Fox, today, I would still take De'Aaron Fox ahead of Lonzo.
Such a nice overall game nowadays.
Have you been watching De'Aaron Fox?
Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in trade scenarios, but they are not willing to, from what I am told, they are not willing to include a draft pick or their best young player, which is Talen Horton-Tucker. And if they're without those two things to grease, I don't know if they're going to get the kind of wing that could really make a difference. Their big upgrade, guys, could end up being Andre Drummond. If he is not traded by the Cavs by Thursday, the expectation is he will get bought out and could sign with the Lakers and become their starting center. So that might be their move, is in the buyout market if they can't find something in the wing market.
So, Perk, if the Lakers do get Drummond, how much would that move the needle for you, knowing that LeBron is going to be out for a bit and AD's still out for a while too?
Oh, tremendously. This is what the Lakers has been missing since they took for granted the Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. Andre Drummond provides that live threat at the basket. He provides that shot blocking, that dynamic role to open up the lane. I would also look at J.J. Redick in the buyout market. I know he's not playing well for the Pelicans, but if he goes to the Lakers, he's going to be re-energized and looking forward to playing with them, and he's a spacer. So although he may not be getting touches, he may not get shots, he is a hell of a decoy to open up the paint for Braun, Dennis Schroeder, Anthony Davis when the Lakers do get healthy. So Andre Drummond definitely moves the needle for them, and J.J. Redick.
I agree. Andre Drummond is definitely a great fit. And, you know, outside of all of the things that you said, Perk, he also gets them extra possession. So if you do get a J.J. Redick, well, yeah, he's not playing well with the Pelicans, But on a team where you have an AD LeBron, you'll get more open shots. And then you add Drummond, you get that rebound and kick out open three, which he knocks down. Even if you have somebody like J.J. Redick running off of threes, like you said, to be the decoy, after a while, you're going to have to give up something. It's usually going to be J.J. Redick before you give up something to AD or LeBron. So, back to Drummond, which I think he would fit great, and he would move the needle because they need some shot blocking, they need some size, and they need extra possessions.
Well, Frank Vogel made it very clear the other night they are exploring every option possible before the deadline and then in the buyout market that will follow. Brian, you wanted to hit one more city. Where are you now, friend?
I'm in the French Quarter, Rachel, someplace that I know is one of your favorite places in the country here in New Orleans. They've got one of the more intriguing players heading into this trade deadline, and that's Lonzo Ball. David Griffin, the team's general manager, has expressed an interest and willingness to listen to offers for him. Teams like the Atlanta Hawks, the Chicago Bulls, and even the Denver Nuggets, I have heard, have shown interest in offers. But Griffin's price is high. He's looking for a first-round pick and another player, preferably a young prospect. Does that standard get met by Thursday? I don't know, but he will be a restricted free agent, and it's possible that this could be laying the groundwork for a sign and trade over the summer, especially potentially with the Chicago Bulls. That could be what this is all about here with Lonzo Ball.
I mean, look, if I was David Griffin, I wouldn't necessarily give up Lonzo Ball. I really like the fit between him and Zion, but you mentioned Atlanta in that mix, Brian. Why would the Hawks want another point guard?
Good question. I don't know, but I heard from a pretty reliable source that decision that's been discussed. The Hawks, by the way, have had their fingers out there in a lot of different pies, examining how they could upgrade their team, even though they've won 9 of their last 10 games. So, keep an eye on them. It may just be a number of things that they're looking at, trying to, right now, top 4 seed is not out of the realm of possibility for the Hawks.
Well, Vince, you are our Hawks insider in free agency. I know you knew everything about that team.
Hey, real quick, they could, getting Lonzo Ball can move trade.
Welcome to the WOJ Low off-season special YouTube edition with all the stuff we didn't have time to dive into on the television show. WOJ, whew, that was a lot, but we still got a lot to get to.
We left a lot on the bone here.
A lot of meat on the old bone. Starting with the point guards. We could barely get into the point guards. There are so many that are on the market this summer. It's almost bad to be one of them because there just is there's more point guards than money. Let's start with Lonzo Ball, who is a restricted free agent in New Orleans. And I don't know where he's going to fall in this game of musical chairs, but anytime you're a restricted free agent, you look around at, okay, who's got cap room to offer me an offer sheet? Who needs a point guard? And there are a couple obvious candidates, right?
I think in a perfect world for both Lonzo Ball and the Chicago Bulls, they end up together. But as you said, it is restricted free agency, which means that the Pelicans can match an offer sheet from Chicago. They could also work a sign and trade and get some assets, or they could just let them go. Remember, we know New Orleans would like to get involved with Kyle Lowry, and I think there's a sense of perhaps them being resigned that Lonzo Ball won't be on their team next year, but can they, even if they match an offer sheet, now you have him as an asset. I know the other thing you can count on with New Orleans right now, they've got that 10th pick in the draft, and they are attaching it to trade offers with Eric Bledsoe. So they want you're going to have to take on that $18 million contract for this year for Bledsoe, and maybe even a Steven Adams in some scenarios. But I think certainly Bledsoe, if they're going to move on from 10. So they've been active in those talks, but I think the Bulls and Pelicans talked about Lonzo Ball at the trade deadline, and I thought they kind of got close. They were dancing around it. I think in the end, there was just some draft capital that the Bulls resisted putting in. They had obviously used picks to get Nikola Jokic, but Vucevic, yeah, they did not get Nikola Jokic.
They would be throwing a party in Chicago.
They would have given Arturas Karnisovas would have given all his picks. Vucevic, excuse me. Anyway, that's where I think a lot of this starts with Ball. We talked about Dennis Schroeder on the TV show. They certainly with the Lakers, the easy thing is for them just to do a deal together. But if he's out in the marketplace, if Chris Paul, Mike Conley, Spencer Dinwiddie, Derrick Rose is another name in Chicago. I don't think he's at necessarily the top of their priority list, but if he doesn't return to New York, is there a role for Derrick Rose with the Bulls? And I just think there are a lot of contingencies all these teams are working through.
Well, I mean, there's just a ton of subplots that are interesting when you talk about the Pelicans. Number one, if they're dangling that 10 pick as part of a salary dump, I hope they're getting another first-round pick in return that's just lower, right? I hope they're trading down in the draft.
That's right.
Because to me, just giving up a first-round pick, I get the reason, I get the salary mechanics, all that. I know that they have a million picks coming from the Lakers. They're still too early in this rebuild to start just giving away picks to me, unless you're getting, if you move down 7 spots to Memphis or something, like that's not so bad. You can get roughly equivalent players at 17 and 10. But this sort of is almost reminding me of Anthony Davis 2.0 when they got AD, realized we have a transcendent talent, and then just went whole hog rushing to get veterans around him, and the team just wasn't good enough. And I think with Zion Williamson, I just think they have to be careful. Feeling the pressure is one thing. Like Zion is a transcendent talent. We saw with Trae Young just now. If your young guys might be 22, 23, if they're ready to win with talent around them, they're ready to win. I just be a little, just try to thread the needle like the Hawks did.
And I think the Pelicans hope that if, let's say they got Kyle Lowry, veteran point guard, that it is in some way, and I don't think they're not going to be in the NBA Finals next year, but in some ways it could impact their roster the way Chris Paul impacted those young players in Phoenix. I think I understand the thinking. Certainly he'd improve them. They want better decision-making and maturity, all the things that certainly Lowry would bring you, but there's a big market for Kyle Lowry. And you're talking potentially $25 million a year, $30 million a year for Kyle Lowry. It's going to be expensive to get at him in free agency or a sign and trade.
After Phoenix, I'm hesitant to rule out anybody making the NBA Finals like 10 months in advance. No one, if we had sat on this show a year ago and said, we might make the finals, Phoenix. Keep it on.
I thought, hey, listen, when they made the Chris Paul trade, hey, they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're a playoff team.
We thought they'd be good, but finals was. I want to go back to Chicago for a second because I think it was kind of an under-talked about story at the end of last season. They put in a lot of draft equity and Wendell Carter Jr., who's, I think, a decent NBA player, to get Vucevic. Didn't make the play-in tournament. Couldn't even make the play-in tournament in the East. Now, Zach LaVine was in health and safety protocols. That was a huge deal that really hurt their season. But I think it hasn't been talked about enough that this is a team that's under pressure to win next year. They have to get in the playoffs next year. They have to make a leap next year. And when you look at their core, they don't have this giant Hawksy young core of guys. And that's why the Lonzo thing is so interesting to me. Are they going to be able to get him out and out in free agency? Is it going to cost them Lauri Markkanen, which is a name like you barely hear anymore? That was the rumored deal, was Lonzo for Markkanen.
That was the deal.
What is going to happen in Chicago? Because they need to put together a team. They're alarmingly dependent right now on guys like Thad Young and Tomas Satoransky. They need to fill out this roster.
Yeah, and you just mentioned Satoransky. That's a player that there's a lot of interest in him there, and I think especially very good teams see him as a guy who can just fit in and play a role. Yeah, this is an important summer for this Bulls team, and I think Billy Donovan, Mark Eversley, their GM, and of course Arturas Karnisovas, their president, trying to figure out what the right mix of players looks like. This was a team that was playing really fast last year, and then you trade for Vucevic, and it slows down a little bit. And I think, listen, he's you can play a lot of offense through him. They've got to figure out, and playmaking was certainly, a big part of that. I think, this is a team that, you're exactly right. They've got to figure out their identity. They've got to get a playmaker to run it. And the Vucevic trade sped up the pressure on this team to not just, like you said, not just be able to get in the play-in, but be like, they think they should have a team here now that is a perennial Eastern Conference should be contender. They're still a ways away from that.
And we forget things like this, but another guy that went out in that trade was Otto Porter, who the Bulls didn't give up a ton for. Otto Porter was Jabari Parker and Bobby Portis, who now feels like a ton because he's fresh off the final stage. And Otto Porter just didn't work out. He was part of their core. He was the big three that they wanted. And those things just keep rippling